I do appreciate the team is the willingness to, yes, we make the decision and move on, but we also the willingness to bring it back up and have further conversation. If we're working with, an influencer or something, and we see something on their social media from, a couple years ago, we're like, oh, okay, maybe that isn't exactly who, Joffa wants to align with right now, and being willing to be like, yeah, we made a mistake. Okay, we're going to kind of say, sorry about that. We shouldn't have done that. We're going to be really transparent with you, and we're going to move forward now.
Hey guys, welcome to the Moxie podcast. This whole month we've been talking about storytelling, and it has been a beautiful month, just talking about what that looks like in different perspectives. And it's been a joy to always introduce you to new friends of mine and just really cool initiatives happening all around the world. So I am excited to invite two people. It's going to be double trouble here on the podcast today with Joffa. So we are going to start with, what are you both best known for? We have both Jennifer and Haley here. And Haley, I'm going to let you start. I'm going to like be teacher here and point at you all. But yeah, what are you best known for? And welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having us. We're so excited. My name is Haley Hoover. I am with Joffa. And I would say in the office, I am best known for my healthy love of caffeine. It's healthy, right, Jennifer? It's healthy.
Borderline.
Yes. I drink so much coffee, and I'm very dehydrated, but I'm very energized. So I think that's what I'm best known for around here.
That's so good. Awesome. And hi, Jennifer.
Hi, thank you so much for having us. We're super excited, as Haley said. I'm Jennifer Weston. I'm the managing director at Joffa, and I am probably best known for my cooking. Honestly, I love to cook, and I love to cook for other people. So that's one way that we like to open our home up and have people there and share a meal over a table. And so that's probably what I'm best known for.
Do you like cook a specific cuisine or type, or you're like exploratory and love to cook all different things?
Yes, I don't know. I should ask my husband sometime and my kids. I actually cook every night. It's pretty much a different meal. I'm always trying something new. I'm always looking for new recipes. I don't know if that's endearing about me or if it's annoying, but but I really love to try new things.
I met someone else so do you ever repeat a meal? Because I have a friend, Nicole, who has literally never repeated a meal. Is that you too?
No, I do. We do have some go-tos. We probably have like 5 like staples that I rotate through, but it's a small number. It's
out
a small
of the whole year. She has 5 repeats out of the whole year. So like contextually,
I repeat like the same 3 recipes every week.
Yeah. Well, Jennifer I can also attest, she's fed me and my family many times. She is a great cook, and she is so good at opening her home. It really is like what she's known for.
Thanks.
I love it. So we have addiction to caffeine and and a cooking connoisseur. Awesome. Well, both welcome to the podcast. I'm again really excited to just introduce Joffa to our community. Some people who listen to Moxie might be familiar just because we do have a lot of listeners within the ethical artisan kind of space that really want to do good, especially with consumerism and how they're, showing up in the world. But I know there's probably a lot of people that don't know. And it was a joy of mine to actually be connected to you guys through Stephanie, who will be on the podcast actually next month with Jubilee, and just be intertwined in this world. And I was actually, this was probably around last year when I was kind of connected. And I was so surprised that I had like never crossed paths with y'all. I was like, oh my gosh, how do I not know Joffa? How do I not know these people? All of the goodness that happens there. And so I would love for you guys to, before we even get into what does it mean for storytelling, what does it mean for partnership at Joffa? Like, who is Joffa? How did it get started? And what is the mission?
Yeah. So we're actually really young as an organization. So that's one reason that a lot of people still haven't heard about us. But our founder actually lived overseas was doing work overseas and saw all of these artisans making these beautiful things. And it was a way to build community, a way to build connection, a way to give, fair wages to people who needed help, but they didn't have a way to sell, their stuff. They were bringing 10 bracelets in a suitcase back home to the States and trying to go to a conference and sell the bracelets and, whatever it was. And so he actually was like, we should start something where we could help all of these artisan groups around the world have a place where they can sell things. And that way their impact, whether they're, whatever their impact is, that way their impact can be multiplied because we're taking a lot of the headache away from them. We're marketing the stuff for them. We're taking really beautiful pictures of their things and we're providing that marketplace for them to sell. So that's how Joffa was born, was just this idea that, hey, we know something about e-commerce already. Why don't we create a beautiful website where we can partner with people all around the world to sell their things so that they can focus on the people aspect. They can be feet on the ground, loving the people that they're working with and not have to worry about, that aspect of it so much. Haley, what else would you say?
Yeah, I mean, again, we're so new. And this idea of scale was so important to our founder. Because as you all know, Jenny, like it's very hard to run a business, let alone a business that also doubles in deeply investing in people's souls. And so our real goal is to take the lift of the scale bit off of our partners so that they can do the hard work of restoring and pouring into other people and also just run a business without totally running yourself ragged. So, and we've been able to do that. We've seen some of that pay off already in the last 2 years, but as far as Jennifer and I are concerned, we want to do so much more. But yeah, I think scale is our focus so that we can scale impact for other people.
Yeah. I can attest from the other side that yes, that's exactly, I feel I've been reflecting with a lot of just owners, founders of who are in the similar space. And I was actually talking to my team the other day and I said, all I want to do is sit with our artisans and sing worship. Like all I want to do is sit and have chai with them. Like, and I feel like since 2021, really, we've been a lot of hustle and a lot of change, and I've had to retrench and move things around, and it's been a lot of hard. And then I was talking to my stateside team, which is very small, just my sweet little two teamers over there, and I was just like, I have no desire to sell like anymore. I have no desire to do that. And luckily I have, a few people that you guys have been in conversation with, but I'm like, because I want to get back to the heart of why I came to Kenya. So I think you guys are speaking my language, our language over here, who are all around the world, who are just, want to, again, purposely invest in people, because these businesses started to provide consistent work and dignified work and build into relationships that, as we know, are transformative and eternal and definitely a greater meaning. But I want to, I know there's a process to partnerships and all of that, but what do you feel, in your opinion, in kind of your short journey already with working with Joffa? I would love for maybe you guys to share a highlight of just like being able to work with your team and then work with your partners. What has been kind of a joy there, but then also I would love to hear the impact of how you guys are storytelling, because I think the businesses like Joffa are needed. As we know, we're competing with Shein and Temu. I can't even say their names and all of that. Like we're competing with that. And it's such a larger task at hand because we're having to change the mindset of consumers. Like we care, but I think sometimes in what we're in this space always. And I feel like everyone knows about it and they just don't, and they just want convenience. They want to do impact, but they feel like it's just too big for them. So I would love to hear how you guys sit around the table, virtual table or in-person table together as a team and think through that, of how you are telling a story in a way that allows people to be enticed really to buy and understand that that one little purchase does make a bigger change, because I think as
Yes.
consumers, they think it doesn't, and we have to get them past that mindset too. So that was a lot. I don't know if you've heard all of it, but answer
Yeah.
however you want to answer.
Yeah, well, Haley and I we were just having this conversation this morning. And it's really difficult, um, because it is so much of our job is also education to the consumer, as well as all the other aspects of our job that we do, and where that line is between good storytelling that's educating consumers, but also sharing the stories that we're
Mhm.
so excited about. So I'm going to let Haley talk about that a little bit more, but I'm going to go to your first question really quick and just talk about a highlight really fast. Um, I say all the time that my greatest joy in working with Joffa is when I get on a phone call or a Zoom call with one of our partners, because they just remind me of all of the whys, like all of our Jaffa whys can get wrapped up into one phone call. It's just always a highlight of my day. I was just on the phone with one of our partners last week, and she and I were talking through, and we were talking like really detailed businessy stuff, right? So we were doing all of that, and then I just asked like a random question about, like, wait, how are you doing right now? Like, tell me about your soul. Tell me about how you're doing right now. And and then it was like, oh yeah, we can have these bigger conversations, like we are all people. And and to hear how they were able to dig a new well, and so now the people in the community have clean water, and not just education for their kids, but they're also able to provide clean water for this whole village that's around them. It's just, we forget that each purchase that's made at Jaffa is also doing it, yes, is providing dignified employment for that one artisan, but it's also the ripple effect into the
Mhm.
community, is just, it's hard to like be able to tell that story well, because there's just so many ripples that impact touches
Mhm.
throughout the whole community.
Yeah,
Right.
I'll add to that, because I think this is something that I've always actually wanted to quantify as like my academia side, is like, how do you quantify a ripple? Because I mean, I get the joy to see things happen every day. And over the last decade of truly, what does consistency provide? And it provides confidence, and that, overflows into their kids and their future. And that, like, there's so much. One person is like rippling just into like 5 people in their family. But yes, it's such a community. And when you change people's self-efficacy and you change their belief in themselves, you change the way they center their faith, and even that journey, it's wild to see the transformation. And it is so hard to tell that story, because we would just be talking for hours of like all the
Mm-hmm.
goodness. So I love that you shared that.
Yeah, about a year and a half ago, I'm tasked with running the marketing for Jaffa. And we were kind of hitting a wall with a few things in terms of our media efforts. And our team was working on 2 brands, a nonprofit Jaffa and a for-profit brand that often pulled our focus away. And we kind of sat down in the room. I was like, we got to make some changes. And one of the things we were struggling through was that our story is so great at Jaffa, but it's a long story. And
Mm,
even as marketers and as in the commerce world, like, we are ourselves fighting against this Amazon mentality of like, give me the details right now, give them all to me, and then be like, make your purchase and move on. And it that is not how this marketplace works, because right now we're working through introducing just the Jaffa brand to the marketplace. And then we also try to insert the deeper stories of our artisans and our partners and the change. But like, we're kind of tasked with this twofold storytelling right now. And we as a team, we know Jaffa, we eat, sleep, and breathe it. So we want to jump ahead to the partner part all the time. But our customers are like, wait, who are you? What are you doing? How did you start? And we are constantly having to take 2 steps back and start at the beginning, which is a really great place to start when you're telling a story. But I think we're fighting that fast fashion mentality even internally. But you touched on this too, Jenny, like we talk about this from the consumer side. I sometimes feel like we're chipping away at an iceberg because of the turnaround times and the rock bottom prices that these fast fashion retailers can offer. Like, you don't have to wait. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to be mindful at all. You can just buy the thing. So we are kind of in this battle of upending habits, stopping people from doing that knee-jerk, I have to have it right now mentality. And it's really challenged me as a marketer because my traditional paths of things that I would do to really give awareness, I really have to like wrestle with, like, you have a fashion brand, you have an accessory brand, you go work with influencers. That's what you do. But, my challenge in even contracting influencers, I have to be so much more thoughtful of like, okay, what else are you promoting the rest of the time? And
Right.
also that balance of jamming consumerism down an audience's throat. We need people to buy things, but like we also have to consider the cost. And so the patience is we're struggling with that all the time. Like we have these really massive goals for Joffa because we know that the impact is even greater. But we, as marketers and storytellers, we have to be extremely thoughtful and slow. Like we're in slow
Mhm.
fashion. It's slow from start to finish. And that's a hard tension that we walk with. But we are really trying to lean into that and faithfully tell the broader story of Joffa right now in this year, but also find points even monthly. We're doing little spotlights on each of our partners, and we've seen great results in taking that slow approach.
Yeah, I think I mean, I can just I feel and obviously can relate to everything that you said. And I know a lot of our listeners can too. I think that's the hardest thing is we're in a space that we have to compete with that. And at the same time, we're trying to be different. But how do you continue to be different, slow and patient when you still have goals to hit
Right.
and things to keep in mind? I think that tension is so hard. I want to talk about value alignment though in storytelling. You mentioned it a little bit with influencers, something that we just recently did. If you go to our Instagram right now, it's all Halloween stuff, but it's all Halloween stuff because we're trying to move it because we
Right.
actually are we're shutting down. One of the big moves we did is we're shutting down actually our Halloween collection forever, which is countercultural because historically in our revenue, it is our largest and most it brings in the most income for it has for the last 3 years. But when we talk about value alignment, something that's really interesting with Halloween and with the sake of where our organization and our company exists is it actually has made our artisans really uncomfortable in making some of this stuff when it's like
Mm,
skeletons and dead and
right.
it says witch gang and these things like this where we can see as a Western culture as like, oh, that's cute and I'm just going to put it and hang it. And we can follow those trends, but it's been hurting our community of like questioning why
Yeah.
are we making this stuff and who do we actually praise and like all these things. And so I spent a lot of time in prayer and reflection. I was like, we're gonna shut this down. And it makes no sense as a business, but it makes so much sense in how we're caring for our artisans and representing our values. And so
Mhm.
I would love for you guys to talk a little bit about that because I also know from just experience too of wanting to cut corners a little bit and be like, oh, if we partner with this person, oh, what could it do? And then
Right.
at the same time, what you were saying, like, but who else are they partnering with? And does this actually make sense for us? So we'd love to hear if you have any like personal stories to share or just how you guys look at not your internal partners of who you're picking, as who you're sourcing from, but how you are partnering with people to market and storytell. And what are you looking for? What are some values that you have at Jaffa?
I think one thing I will say is we value people and we have clear parameters as a brand of how we will work with the different partners. and we adhere to them. Now, sometimes we have some really great partners, but they're not checking all of the boxes. And so the team who onboards them has had to navigate, okay, how do we gracefully give this feedback without shaming, without, just straight up rejecting someone? We really want to operate open and honestly and kindly. And so we've sort of had to navigate that. And it's in navigating that, in having to deal with giving rejection, it's evolved our process of onboarding. It's helped us make some more set parameters so that it doesn't feel subjective, or it doesn't feel objective. And one thing I would just say internally from learning and just working with Jennifer for the past couple of years is Jennifer's really, really good at sitting and thinking on things. Like I've come from other fast-paced workplaces where you didn't really get time. You just made a choice and you moved on. But Jennifer's really good about like, I got to think about that. Hang on, so we can make a smart decision and make sure that we are looking back to what are our fundamentals as a company. And that leads the way. Like we came from a larger brand that had several fundamentals of how we operate, and they kind of floated over to Joffa, and they are all great. And one of them is speaking open and honestly, and even just like fun and winning team. Like when we're all on that same page, it allows us to operate in the same way and know what the heart and the intention is behind that. So yeah, we have to look at our partners and make sure that they align with our values. And then from the external, like communicating out to our consumers, we, sometimes we've had conversations, especially last year when we were a brand new brand. Okay, how are we going to talk to various holidays throughout the year? What does that look like for us? How do we acknowledge what the rest of the world has going on, but maybe we don't personally align? And so we talk about all of those things. And because our team is not afraid to be honest and they can be open, it's led to productive conversations where you're not walking out of a conference room and people are upset. It's like, okay, I see your point of view. Here's where we landed. But the big thing for us has been getting process down on paper, getting things laid out so that it's very clear and helps us to be able to move forward for the future. Because as we grow, we want to have these precedent set so that we don't have to continue to keep falling into these like long unpackings of how or why. So on the outset, that's been a big thing for us is like, let's get it down. Let's align on something once so that we can move forward in the future.
I think with everything that's going on in the world right now, like it can just be really difficult to it's just really difficult sometimes to really to make that decision once and move forward, so I do appreciate the team the willingness to, yes, we make the decision and move on, but we also the willingness to bring it back up and have further conversation. If we're working with an influencer or something and we see something on their social media from a couple years ago, we're like, oh, okay, maybe that isn't exactly who Joffa wants to align with right now, and being willing to be like, yeah, we made a mistake, okay, we're going to kind of say sorry about that, we shouldn't have done that, we're going to be really transparent with you, and we're going to move forward now, and we're going to do the best we can moving forward, because it is hard, it's a weird world out there. So when you're talking, when you're in that influencer world, we try to make the best decisions we can, and we try to be transparent and say we're sorry when we mess up.
And the other thing, not just from that type of marketing effort, we spend a lot of time talking to our current subscriber list. Like we lean heavily on our newsletters to share information. And because we work with so many partners in turbulent countries, a lot of times we've come into several situations where Haiti is a great example. We have a lot of partners in Haiti. Haiti's experienced devastating unrest in the last year. And so we want to let our customers know this is happening. But we have to make ourselves very clear when we're communicating, hey, this is going on. Hey, we want you guys to know as our customers because you care that these things are happening. We also outright say, we're not trying to monetize this situation. We really are not. Like,
Right.
we
Right.
just want you to know and be mindful, because that is our responsibility. And so and the best way we know how to do that is to be honest. Like, we will say those things in our newsletters. We're not trying to monetize this situation. Our partners have said the best way you can support them is by shopping. You can shop their own website. Like, this is not about our bottom line. But the truth is always going to set you free. And sometimes I feel like, as to make sure it's not lost in translation, we need to just really clearly communicate those things versus like dance or wrap something up in like some pretty marketing language.
No, I love that. And I think I love also the aspect that, I mean, you're encompassing collaboration over competition, even the people that you're purchasing from. It's like, here, you can support that. I would love to talk about the same theme, really, of like sharing stories specifically with your artisan brands. Cause like you said, turbulent places. Most people actually, it was interesting because I teach a global social justice class and I was talking about Haiti. Most of my doctoral students had no idea what was going on because, again, media likes to
There's
portray
no
and not portray
coverage.
things.
Right.
No coverage. And the crazy thing right now is they're sending Kenyan troops. The US is
Yes.
sending Kenyan troops to Haiti. So that's also affecting our country here to like be peacemakers. And my students are like, what's going on? And I'm like, I know, isn't the news wild? Like what it doesn't share. But in that, so you have brands and artisans and people you work with all over the world, some of which are in war-torn places or civil unrest or religious injustices, whatever that might be. So there's also some things that you can't share. How do you navigate that in storytelling? And I say this because coming from, I think it's really important for people to know ethical brands and the difference between old school traditional nonprofit storytelling that again was exploitive and not really, and disregarded the fact of how, even there's like, I talk a lot about pictures and how pictures are misused. Like for us, I never want to show a picture of one of our neighboring villages in Turkana that is desolate. What I want to show is our women smiling with the new water well and the solar panel, like the empowerment side of what's happening, and still share the story of what once was and what still is and how we can help, but not necessarily do that in a way that's like, the Sarah McLachlan, what is the old, like the sad music and the
the Humane
dogs
Society.
Yeah.
That's like
oh my gosh.
iconic. That's I mean, they did unforgettable.
Grew up on that. Anyways, so how do you guys like share the hard, right? But still share the empowerment, but respect the process of, because some of your partners don't necessarily or can't share all their stories. So how do you balance that? Because I would love for people to be able to kind of hear behind the scenes, because I know there's probably brands that you sell or support that you can't necessarily share their stories at all. And that's a loss, but it's also in protection of those individuals too. So would love to, hear how you navigate that.
That's what I wanted to say. I want you to speak more in depth, but I just want to say, like, our marketing team is really, really careful. I really love that every time we bring up any kind of conversation around something like this, the first thing they always ask me is, okay, well, what are we allowed to talk about? Who can we show? Like, they're very, very concerned about, protecting the people and making sure we have the right permissions from the right people. We always ask an artisan, before we, reshare any photos that they've sent us or any story that they've told us. Like we really work really hard to make sure that we've gotten that permission from them to share that information. And because you're right, a lot of our partners are in situations that it's unsafe. If their story got out about what they were actually doing, they would not be in a safe situation. And so I do appreciate the heart behind our marketing people, because that's always the first question they ask me every single time is, okay, well, tell me what I can share, because we don't want to do any harm by anything that we're ever sharing.
Right, that's right. And like, I'll say this too, I think there's two parts of it. Like I'm a tactical person. Our process when we onboard a partner, everyone fills out the same brand brief of so we have the language that they use. we ask, what can and cannot we say? And so we have that clarity. And so we start there, but then when situations change, we are in oftentimes real-time communication with them. Like a great example is the hurricane that just happened. We were chatting with some of our partners that are in North Carolina and trying to understand, okay, how can we help? What can we do? Like what's happening with you in this situation? So we have that gift of communication. But like, yeah, we're telling a story, and like I need to write a story with the book cover that people want to look at, not like put back on the shelf. And so people love beauty. And so we have to find the beauty in all of these stories. And there is so much beauty because there's impact and there's restoration and there's, heroes. And I'm always trying to make our customers realize that they get to be the heroes of the story alongside these artisans who are fighting so hard to find stability in their life. Or, I mean, our impact focuses across our 50 partners are varied, but like there's multiple heroes of the story. There's multiple, if you're looking at the hero's journey, like everyone kind of gets to play part of that role. And so we have to write it really well and carefully. And when we were building the brand, it was really important to me that our aesthetic was different than other types of ethical brands are out there. Everyone has their own beautiful aesthetic, but and this is also partly selfish because I came from the fashion world, but like I wanted it to feel luxe. I wanted it to feel elevated. I wanted it to feel like, oh, I want to be in that room. I like want to be part of that story. And so we have a super talented photographer and social media strategist, Abby, who has amazing experience and has been able to like make our visuals really beautiful so that our pictures and our story are great. And then we work hard to get to the heart of each partner and make sure that we're telling the story in a way that people want to look at it versus like, oh, that's a lot. And that doesn't mean that we gloss over the hard things that are happening. Like we will talk like, hey, a lot of our partners are helping women out of trafficking situations. Like that's jarring to share, but you do need that little bit of a jump scare, and then the easy thing for our customers is like, oh, I just have to buy this beautiful necklace so that I can help an exploited woman out of her bad situation. Oh, okay, I can do that. But again, I mean, how long did that take me to explain? Like that's a long story to tell.
Yeah.
I think, oh, go ahead, Jennifer.
No, I was just to piggyback off what she said. Yeah, I think that's at the heart of everything. At the end of the day, we just want to make it really easy for the customer to feel like they can do something good with their dollars. Like I think there's at this day and age, you can spend your money in so many different places in the world. And, to educate people that, hey, we've taken some of that hard work. Like you don't have to go to each one of the 50 partners websites. And you can for sure. Please go shop their sites. But if you want if you want to make it really easy on yourself, like we've already done the hard work of vetting all of these people. We know that they're paying fair wages to their employees. We know that they have safe working conditions. We know everything is being ethically run. So we've kind of taken that piece off their plate and created a space where they can hopefully build where they hopefully have trust in us so that they can feel comfortable shopping, so that they don't have to do that hard work of trying to figure out what's ethical.
Yeah. And the very last thing I'll say, just to end like how we're continuing that story, is when you receive a product from Joffa, everyone gets a little partner card that shines a spotlight on who the partner is, and that helps them pass that story on. So hopefully we're creating that ripple effect all over again.
I think that's really important, is just the acknowledgement of the creator and like the origin. Cause I think there are brands out there that are actually purchasing ethically and doing that and then curating their spaces in a way, but then their consumer doesn't even know that it's ethically made. And that's the whole point of what we should be as a brand. And like you're saying, is the education piece, like what you
Yeah.
said in the very beginning. So the best thing that we can do in storytelling is to educate for people to know, because there are people out there actually purchasing actually pretty well, and they don't even know. On the other
Mhm.
end, I like how you said creating luxe and elevated. I remember when I first started and before we rebranded, we were more crafty. Now, crafty is like a sinful word in my space. Do not tell me I'm crafty. I'll be like, we're not crafty, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, put it in the suitcase, go to the church
Right.
setup
Right.
and buy something crafty. And I was like, no, 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 no. So, but after we rebranded, I saw the importance of that when we went to New York and Atlanta and these different trade shows. It was like, no, like we already have the beautiful story to be told. Now we need a product that actually is going to sell itself besides getting the pity purchases. So I think that's
Yeah.
the beauty of when you create something so amazing, you curate something so beautifully that you put people in awe and in surprise that it's handmade. And that's what I love seeing when people are like, what? This is handmade.
Right.
What? This is, and so you guys are in the, the business of doing that. And I think I wish we could see, and you guys could see, that's why reviews are so important, but I wish you could see every face, that opens up your packages when they get to the door, because that's what we're like, that's the beauty of like from workshop to your home of seeing that come together. And so I'm just excited for what you guys are, up to. And I would love to end our time together of two things. Sharing one, what is your favorite thing about your position, your job at Joffa? And then lastly, what's one last thing to live by that our listeners can go out into this week and be encouraged and motivated by your words?
I'll go first. Favorite thing is making beautiful things and telling beautiful stories. That's what I love about Jaffa. And words to live by, probably something that I tell my two little girls. We have to take care of each other.
Yeah, that's great. You do tell them that. I've heard you tell them that. Yeah, what I love about my job is, oh gosh, it's so hard to pick one thing, but I'm gonna go back to what I said at the beginning because it is so true. It's I am in the unique position where I actually get to talk to our partners personally. The rest of the team, there's only a few of us that actually get to have FaceTime with partners. And so I feel really lucky and blessed that I get to have that one-on-one interaction with our partners because it's just a joy. It's a joy and a blessing to be able to speak to them personally. And then I'm going to read you my favorite quote is by Maya Angelou. People will forget what you said. They will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And that's how I try to live my life.
I love that. That's so good. I don't think you guys can hear this, but there is a celebratory parade going on outside of my office. So I'm just pretending they're celebrating this conversation. I'm like,
Yeah.
Yes.
this is
Yes.
something.
They are.
Something's going on here in Mombasa.
Thanks for the parade.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am, again, so thrilled that you guys spent time with us here and as part of the Moxie community. I would love for people to know where they can find you. All the stuff we've mentioned, obviously, any little thing throughout the interview, we'll put in the show notes. But where can people find Joffa? How can they get involved? Or even just contact you guys personally?
I mean, it's a great time to get involved at Jaffa because it's the holiday season and everyone's got to buy gifts. So jaffa.com, we've got so much beautiful stuff and a lot of great deals. And you can follow us on Instagram, all of the socials. We're in all of the places, but Jaffa official on most any social platform. So we would love for you to join our community.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you again for being a part of today. And as always, to our listeners, Moxie on.